So I wanted to do this reaction video so I could dispel some myths, some rumors, some inaccuracies. And you're going to see Colonel MacGregor and you're going to see the host of Redacted talking. And they just get things so wrong in so many ways about the effect of long-range weapons, or what the Biden administration is doing, or why it's doing it, or what Trump might do, all these kind of things. And I want to try to set the record straight. So if you'll just bear with me, you have to listen to them talk so that I can respond. But here we go. This is Colonel MacGregor. Ukraine will be totally destroyed with nothing left if Biden doesn't stop now. Like, how many times? Like, it's been 1,000 days of him saying Ukraine's going to be destroyed. It's 2 weeks away. They're about to be demolished. Putin's going to, right? I mean, they keep doing this. And at a certain point, you got to think, like, don't you feel like your credibility is on the line? But apparently they don't. Okay, here it is.
After President Trump pledged peace and an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine, he released this video message. NATO decided to ignore all of that and launched long-range weapons into Russia for the very first time. President Biden seems like he's trying to start World War III before he leaves.
Okay, so President Biden is trying to start World War III, or Putin is? Like, let's start with that basic starting point, that it's Biden is finally actually stepping up. So the way that you prevent World War III is by not allowing it to escalate. Well, how do you not allow it to escalate? By showing the bully that, no, you can't do this because bad things will happen to you. Because if you don't do this, then bad things continue to happen, and you just continue to let them get away with things, and it goes sideways. Okay.
Office, Europe on edge today. What does all of this mean for Europe, the United States, and frankly, the Middle East? Let's ask Colonel Douglas MacGregor, who's just penned a brand new piece for the American Conservative about all of this, and we wanted to invite him on. Colonel.
So let's understand something about his conservatism. This is like a MAGA-like something, and the American Conservative is not like okay, so I'll do another video later on today, my 5 big stories, where I'm showing you something from the American Enterprise Institute, which is a conservative think tank. Conservatives have different splits on this, where some go MAGA and go like off the rails, and then some stay with the kind of a Reagan-esque kind of place, and that's where I am, and that's where the party used to be for the most part, and half the party still is. The majority of the party is actually kind of gone a little bit more MAGA, unfortunately. Here's what MacGregor has to say.
Unbelievable news this morning. I mean, last night we get Trump sending this video message out about peace. We need to end this right now, a cessation of hostilities. And then the Biden administration, or whoever's running the Biden administration, tells Ukraine, go ahead and launch these long-range missiles. What do you make of this morning?
You know, I was trying to think of a previous presidency where we'd seen something like this. But if you go back to 1968, when Richard Nixon was running for office, LBJ didn't do anything to harm Nixon. He did everything in his power to be as honest and forthright with Nixon as he could be, admitting that he was essentially unsure what to do next. And so this is really something radically new. The last time a president left office with an unmitigated disaster in the Oval Office behind him was Buchanan. And of course, he bequeathed to Abraham Lincoln the Civil War. You got to go back that far. But Buchanan was not meant.
Okay, so you know, I'm not sure that the LBJ analogy is that great. The Buchanan one is not quite accurate either. But what Biden has done is left a legacy of giving Ukraine just enough to carry on and not enough to push Russia under, because I don't think that they want Russia like really defeated in a meaningful sense. I could be wrong, but it's not because of that. I'm like, that's a side effect that they don't want either, but they don't want to escalate. So Biden wants to not be the president that causes World War III, and he wants to not escalate because he doesn't want a nuclear war, and he thinks that this is the path to get there by being really, really measured rather than pushing harder. And so for that reason, yeah, this is what's happening.
Mendacious. This is pure mendacity. This is malevolence. This is a
no, it's not. It's a difference in worldview of how to go about doing things. I think he's wrong. I think Biden should have provided these missiles earlier, and that he's doing them now is actually a good thing. Maybe too little, too late, but it's at least a good thing. It's not malicious or whatever he's saying that this is.
Deliberate attempt to subvert the election.
No, it's not.
You know, we're unhappy. You're going to come in here and you think you're going to make peace. Well, we're going to fix you. To some extent, I've looked at this. It doesn't fit the definition of treason per se, but I think it's pretty damn close.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's not treasonous. Biden has the lawful right to do whatever he's doing right now. It doesn't matter what the election just was. He has a lawful right to do that, and it's not treasonous or anything like that. Now, I'm showing you this because there are people that really think like he does. Like, so you need to wrap that around your mind. Like, this is the MAGA mentality when it comes to foreign policy, generally speaking.
I mean, overnight, Polymarket, which you know accurately predicted the presidential election, and then the feds raided the CEO of Polymarket's home because he nailed it, showed that Trump was going to win. So
not sure that that's exactly why, but well, let's keep going.
This morning, we have Polymarket numbers showing that the use of a nuclear weapon in the year 2024 is likely. I mean, people are betting that, yes, we're going to see the use of a nuclear weapon in 2024. It's risen overnight thanks to this latest long-range attack. I mean, what are they playing at? I mean, it's like fun for these. It's like fun for these people.
Well, you're right. This is not a game. This is very serious stuff. And President Putin earlier today signed a new description of the use of nuclear weapons in Russian strategy. In other words, he's changed the approach, saying that effectively, if we're attacked in overwhelming numbers by conventional forces across our border, whether these are manned or unmanned systems like the ATACMS missiles or cruise missiles, we reserve the right to use essentially a nuclear weapon to strike the territory from which the attack was launched.
Okay, so this is what Russia does. They do the cloak of legality, even though it doesn't, like, you don't get to one-sidedly say whatever, but okay. And then it was violated that same day. So Russia changed its policy to say, well, we reserve the right to do that if you attack with long-range weapons, or actually the language was that we now say that the West, wherever the weapon came from, and all their allies are now at war with us, and we reserve the right to strike them. Sure, you're going to really strike them for that? That's just not going to happen. But he's framing it as if Putin is the aggrieved party here.
Now, this was not an overwhelming attack. What Zelensky did was launch 6 ATACMS missiles, 5 of which the Russians successfully intercepted and shot down.
That's what the Russians claim. We don't actually know what happened about how many were actually shot down yet, and we're looking for more developments about it. But like the storm shadows that came the next day killed a Russian general. Like, this is before that. This was 2 days ago, before that incident happened, or before Russia launched its ICBM without a nuclear warhead, but an ICBM into Ukraine.
The 6th struck near a location in Russia called Karachev, where there is a stockpile of weapons, but it didn't hit the stockpile. It simply started a small fire, which was quickly...
Which is almost verbatim what it said in Russian news. That's what Douglas MacGregor is repeating right now, because I read the same report.
Put up. Now, Vladimir Putin and the Russian state want to put an end to this war. There's no question about it. They would like it to end.
On their terms, which means that they get to keep all the oblasts that they stole from Ukraine, including all the way to the administrative borders that they do not control.
And they know that President Trump is certainly willing to try and end it. So this gives them an incentive to exercise more restraint until he arrives. But the bad news is that I think this attack is probably going to trigger the use of weapons to destroy, frankly, what remains of Ukraine. We know that over the weekend, they already struck the power grid in western Ukraine.
Now, he's been saying this and saying this and saying this. All of Ukraine will be destroyed. It's happening next week. And at a certain point, like, when do you just admit, guys, I got it wrong?
Which means that the people in the West, as well as the East, in the areas controlled by the Ukrainian government right now, are all going to freeze through the winter, which is
and that is true, that they are working on trying to destroy the power grid to freeze civilians through the winter. And the world is saying nothing about it.
Disaster. Of course, they just said they were going to cut off natural gas to Austria as well. The bottom line is this could trigger the thing that everybody says they don't want to happen, which is a major advance by Russian forces, which are already advancing as we speak here very, very rapidly all the way to the Dnieper River. Because if you're in the Russian General Staff and you look at the map, you know that President Trump doesn't come into office until 21 January, and you have this maniac in Kiev who seems to be determined with his friends in Washington to start a war that could lead to nuclear exchange. Then you say,
right. Listen to that. To the maniac in Kiev. It's actually pronounced Kiev, by the way. And he's not a maniac. And the maniac's in Moscow. But that's the perspective that he comes to. Now, he's one of the big influencers in foreign policy on that side of the equation, on the pro-Russian or anti-Ukraine, however you want to say it, side of this equation. But you have to hear how he's seeing things in order to be able to go, not to say that he's right, not for that, but just to hear where he's coming from so that you can wrestle with it intelligently. All right, I just want to give you a couple minutes of this so that you could have a sense of how they're reacting to these long-range strikes. These long-range strikes are not... I look at it and you look at it and we process this and go, good. They're going to put them in a place where they're realizing they have to suffer too. They have to experience this too. And this is going to go badly for them. They're saying, no, it's a maniac trying to start World War III and trying to subvert Trump. And no, that's not it at all. But this is the worldview from which they come. Okay, tell me what you thought of this. I'm not going to inflict any more time on you with having to, I mean, that was only not quite 5 minutes of him talking, and that's enough. All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.